Wow, it's been a while. So let's get right into it. The first thing I'd like to look at is the technical parts of the game. I'm new to this whole reviewing thing, so starting with something objective will help me ease into the more abstract thoughts I'd like to talk about later. There's a good amount of video options here, and I'm glad to see Bungie didn't skip on the FOV option. It even goes all the way up to 105. I wish it would go to 120, but I should just be happy it exists. I can't fairly benchmark it because I have an 8700K and a 2080 Ti, so me saying yeah the game runs great would not be very enlightening. However, my roommate has an AMD FX 8350 and an RX 580 and he gets 90 FPS on 1080p with low settings. And honestly, even on the lowest settings, the different planets are a joy to look around and the models all look great. The art style is very consistent and I have to give props to Bungie for merging so many different aliens and technologies into one universe and just have it all work. The difference between the lowest and the highest settings aren't really apparent until you start looking at the details. Here I am on the lowest settings and yeah, the grass doesn't look too great, but look at how the raindrops splash in the water. It's a nice little detail that helps set the mood of the area and I'm glad it's not lost in the graphics options. However, passing by lights does make me realize my Guardian has astigmatism. The sound design in this game is fantastic, from the chatter of enemies to the punch of the rifles when you shoot them. I was never taken out of the moment when I can't recall a single moment where I had to adjust my volume because of some annoying source. The keybinding menu is average when compared to other PC games, allowing 2 separate binds for every action. It would be ideal if there could be modifiers. For example, pressing Q could be a grenade, but holding Alt plus Q would be your super. Not many games do this, but it's a nice surprise when they're there. The main benefit I would see from this is having separate keybinds for each of the individual menus without having to map hard to reach keys on the right side of the keyboard. And since I've brought it up, I'd like to discuss my biggest issue with this game. My biggest issue with this game by far is just how confusing and cluttered all the menus are. I blame this solely on this game being made for consoles then ported to PC without adapting the controls. You'd think Bungie hasn't made a PC game in 15 years. Pressing tab will bring up your ghost and show you your tracked quests on the right. However, for some reason you can only track 3 bounties and quests at the same time. Look at all this negative space that's not being used. You must then hold tab to get to the map destination screen, and then from there you can go to the store, quests, roster, and the season pass sub-menus. So what's my problem with this? Well, on its own, nothing. It is annoying I have to hold tab to get to these menus without hitting a dedicated key, but I could live with it. My issue is that there's a completely different menu tree you access by hitting F1. This is where you can change your character armor, see your inventory, claim triumphs, rebuy some stuff you dismantled, and see your clan. Destiny has 3 separate menu trees, and it really isn't necessary. In fact, the escape menu is just the F1 option sub-menu all the way to the right. I understand splitting up menus for consoles, but lately console UI has been making its way to PC and it's horrible. It's something I really noticed with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I just don't understand why there needs to be so many. Map and destinations could be one tab called navigation, and you could swap between the two with a hotkey. The season pass progress in the store can be the same tab as well, so we've already gone from 6 to 4 menus. Collections and triumphs could definitely be together, and I honestly don't understand what this inventory screen is for. I've never run out of space and I collect a lot. The only use I get out of it is using these Vanguard and Crucible tokens, but if that's all there is to justify this menu's existence, then that's poor because you should be able to just use a coin by holding the interaction key at the team introduction screen. Your character can hold 9 items per slot, and if you don't want an item you can either dismantle it for resources or store it in the vault. I don't really see a problem with this system in itself, but my real grief is how the vault works. Once you access the vault, it'll bring up a non-organized grid of stuff, and you could store items by opening the same character menu as you would if you were not in the vault. My issue with this is I'm guessing this is another console limitation rearing its ugly head because you can't equip and unequip items when you're in the vault menu. You have to exit the vault once you're done transferring items, equip what you want, then go back into the vault and store what you've taken off. I've been told this isn't a fair criticism since you can download the Bungie app or use the web app to instantly transfer items to and from the vault even when you're away from the tower and on mission. My counterpoint to that is that Bungie shouldn't be relying on outside developers or tools outside the game to do their job. This web app should be what's already implemented into the game. Triumphs are basically mini achievements that you use to increase your triumph score. I've never really found a point in it because the only way for other people to see your score is if you have an emblem that displays it or you start a review channel. My issue with triumphs is that they aren't automatically redeemed. You have to go in and manually click on every triumph you've unlocked, and this is honestly pointless. My friend told me the reason they do this is to subconsciously give that feeling of redeeming loot boxes and watching your numbers go up, but since there aren't even any paid loot boxes in the game, I don't see the point. This must be actual hell on a controller. All I've talked about thus far was the organization of the UI. Even if there was just one giant menu tree, it'd all be the most confusing game I've ever played. This is honestly worse than most actual RPGs out there. It took me 3 days to figure out how to do the Red War questline, the based questline in the game. You wanna know how to do it? You go to the tower and talk to the girl who sells the ships. No, I'm serious. There weren't any quests saying to talk to her, nor was there any announcement. It's almost like Bungie didn't want players to find it. Exotic quests are meant to be vague, and that's fine. You unlock very rare equipment for doing them, but there is this one quest telling me to, using this gun, earn progress by completing Gambit, Gambit Prime, Crucible, Vex Offensive, and Strike activities. Well, I've done nothing but use this gun in all those game modes over the weekend, and I'm still stuck at 0%. A lot of quests do have very vague descriptions. I don't have footage because I already did the quest, but I had one mission where I had to deal elemental damage in the PvP arena, but it said progress would be hindered by defeat. Does that mean progress goes down each time I die or each time I lose a match? Spoiler alert, turns out it was each time I died. Quests just plain old don't show up unless you start a new character. I can't get the MIDI multi-tool gun nor complete the introduction quest line because the mission enhance just doesn't even show up for me. Bungie is aware of this bug and is currently fixing it, but quests not spawning in is a really common problem. My last gripe with the UI is when you rank up in Gambit or Crucible, I understand it should be a celebration. Congrats, you ranked up, here's something new you've unlocked. Unfortunately, I can't see what I've unlocked because the entire screen is blocked by the announcement of you ranking up. There's not even enough time to put on new equipment on my Guardian by the time it all goes away before the next round starts. It's super annoying, and I'm pretty sure it's the exact example my informatics textbook used on the chapter about disruptive innovation. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, but if you didn't know, Destiny's a first-person shooter with light RPG elements, and when I say light, I mean really light. There are no skills to level up, no speech checks, no dialogue options. You'll find weapons and armor in the world that level up your character, and that's it. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, I'm just trying to point out that this is basically a first-person shooter dungeon crawler. The gameplay loop here is accept mission, go kill things, claim rewards, repeat. The important question is if this loop is done well. There are a nice variety of guns, and if you're a Halo fan, you'll feel at home with a scout rifle, pulse rifle, auto rifle, shotgun, and sniper rifle. There's also sidearm pistols, hand cannons, and the fusion rifle. Like I said earlier with the art design, all these guns look fantastic, and at a glance you can even get a sense of the gun's story. Even some of the more outlandish designs look believable and grounded. I'm going to break down gameplay into 4 parts: missions, Gambit, Crucible, and social. The most basic game mode I call missions. These are the quests you'll find in each of the overworlds. On the most basic level, there are patrols that you activate by interacting with the beacon while you're in free roam, and these will have you killing 10 to 25 enemies nearby. On the more advanced level, there are heroic quests where you will be killing 50 to 75 enemies, but you have to walk further away. The next step up are strikes, where you will be killing 100 plus enemies and you'll be walking even further. Are you starting to see the problem here? The quests in Destiny 2 lack variety. You're either going to be killing X enemies collecting their drops, or you'll face off against a boss and his minions after killing enemies in a gauntlet. I've heard diehard Destiny fans say that every quest type below strikes are meant to be basic and quick because strikes and raids are the in-game content. Those are the modes you'll be replaying for days to grind out the good gear. Looking back, I should have taken that as a word of warning. So here's how strikes work. You spawn in, there's a little bit of story from an NPC spoken through your ghost, then you have to go through a gauntlet of enemies to eventually defeat the boss that threatens to destroy the world that day of the week. This is what you'll be doing for every one of the different strikes in the game. I understand this is a first-person shooter and your main method of interacting with the world is shooting things, but I'm sure the legendary company Bungie could have tried a little harder coming up with something other than open area with X enemies. The real in-game content are the raids. These are huge 6-player gauntlets that actually take some pre-planning and are significant time investments. And honestly, they're the most fun PvE activities in the game, and some of the most fun PvE first-person shooter levels I've ever played. Look here with my squad sneaking through a forest of feral dogs, then half an hour later we're running through an obstacle course with bombs in our hands. This is the first time I've seen something new in the 50 hours I've played this, and this is just the first out of 6 raids. I'm really looking forward to see what else is in store. It's just a shame that the strikes aren't practices for these raids, and I really think there's a missed opportunity here with that. The raids are the hardest activities in the game, and a large part of that's because you're doing things never before asked of you in the entirety of the game. Some of these puzzles are so difficult you need to have a guide next to you as you play just to figure out how to get through some of these sections. On to my favorite part, the Crucible. These are the pure PvP areas of the game, split up into 3 game types: standard, rotator, and competitive. The rotator game modes are fun, custom game-like modes that make their way into the game on rotation. They could be wacky, like everyone has an infinite rocket launcher, or semi-serious, like a search and destroy mode. I tend to stay away from these unless there's a challenge I have to complete, but they were still a ton of fun whenever I played them with my friends. The standard game modes are exactly what you'd expect. Control, which is a slight twist on domination where your score is multiplied by how many flags your team has captured. So having 1 flag will get you 1 point per kill, but holding 2 flags will get you 2 points per kill. Team Deathmatch, which is exactly what it sounds like, and Free-for-All. The competitive game mode is a 3v3 team deathmatch variant where each team can only respawn 7 times, best of 3 wins. Unlike other game modes where no matter how you do, your rank will go up with experience, it's more like Halo 3 where losses will take away your rank and XP while wins give them. If you're going to solo queue, stick with the freelancer playlist, because going up against a pre-made team, especially at the lower levels, is absolute hell. So is Destiny 2 competitively viable? No. As of writing this review, it's horribly unbalanced. It's not as bad as Black Ops 4, but it's pretty close. However, I give it a pass since no one's trying to make this game an esport. Even still, there are a ton of issues that need to be addressed and balanced. My friends and I have played online FPS games all our lives, and I'm the only one who enjoys Crucible because I'm a tryhard sweaty and I optimize my build specifically for PvP. I do believe it's unfair to criticize things without offering your own solution, so please allow me to share my idea for a better Crucible mode, at least just for competitive. I believe Bungie should go back to basics, or back to bare bones. Everyone has the same base armor stats, no exotics, no perks. You could choose the scout rifle, pulse rifle, or auto rifle for your primary, while secondary slot weapons like shotguns, snipers, and maybe even the power weapons could be found around the map with limited ammo. All of these weapons are the same for everyone. No ultimate abilities, no exotic perks, but there are still grenades and tactical equipment. If you're thinking to yourself, this sounds a lot like Halo 2 or 3, then congratulations, you've realized Bungie made one of the most balanced online FPS arenas ever known, and now they're giving us this unbalanced mess. However, as long as you stay away from the modes that enable light advantage and you get yourself some guns you're comfortable with, you'll have a good time. Gambit is something I've honestly never seen before. 2 teams of 4 spawn into an arena full of AI controlled enemies. When you kill an enemy, you get a drop called a mote that you must then deposit in a bank in the center of the arena. Once 100 motes have been deposited, the boss will spawn. First one to kill their boss wins. That already is something pretty original, but Bungie really wanted to make every video game journalist cream their pants by having an invading mechanic a la Dark Souls. It even has the invader glow red. Once the boss is spawned, players can invade the other team's game and kill the guardians. When a guardian is killed, the boss is healed. My only complaint with this game mode is that there's a very obvious meta, large machine guns. If you want to be a pro Gambit player, get yourself an LMG, stockpile the heavy ammo, then invade the enemy team constantly. Killing all 4 players from a distance with that is easier than come back when you think of a relevant joke. Wait, if I had any suggestions to balance this game mode, it would be to disable heavy ammo on the invaders. Have some explanation that heavy ammo is made from material that gets zapped in the portal and you're done. Okay, so hear me out. I'm adding this subtopic here because it's the best place I could fit it. This will be a lot of criticism because I believe the social areas of the game are some of the weakest I've ever seen in any MMO. However, since I'm on the PC and PC players are either actual bots or don't understand how our conversation works, I find myself torn between 2 options. Option A is that the social area is not as flawed as I think it is, and it's just not living up to its full potential because of how antisocial the players are. Or option B, the social area is, at its core, flawed, and because it is, players have no reason to be social. I personally believe option B to be true, and I'll explain why. There are 2 social areas in the game, the farm and the tower. The farm was the first social area exclusively used until the end of the base campaign, then you can move to the tower. However, now that Guardians start at endgame and can access the tower immediately, the farm is completely dead. There's no reason for you to visit this area, and it wastes valuable memory just by existing. You'll spend most of your off time at the tower. Need bounties? Tower. Need to decrypt engrams? Tower. New quests? Tower. Turn in tokens? Tower. Need to store items? Tower. After you complete a handful of PvP matches or a few missions, you'll need to go back to the tower, and it's the most frustrating part of Destiny's game design. Considering how much stuff is at the tower, I was honestly surprised there's no firing range, so if you turn in a quest and you got a cool new gun you want to test out, well, you're going to have to bring up your map and go to a completely different planet to try it out. I feel like this is a basic feature that was overlooked. I mean, even Call of Duty World War II figured this one out. Look at this footage of my character going around to talk to everyone to get his starting quest. Even after playing for 40 hours, I got lost around the tower, and it's overall just a chore to get everywhere. This is where we run into the argument of immersion versus gameplay. Sure, it's more realistic and immersive that I have to travel across the sewer system to access the black market, then get the red key from Peach's castle to get to the Crucible leader, but honestly, everything could easily be done through menus. I think if Bungie had put up a bounty board in the main area where you could claim bounties from all the NPCs, then you had to visit each NPC in person to turn in tokens or continue a quest step, then the tower wouldn't be so much of a chore to visit. But with the way the tower is set up, it just feels like it wastes your time to pad out your playtime. At the end of the day, Destiny 2 is fun. I think it's fun. My friends who play it with me think it's fun. It's a game that doesn't ask more from the player than to shoot what's in front of you, and if you're willing to put up with the boring grind until you're ready to take on the raids, raiding is some of the most fun I've had in a first-person shooter since Titanfall 2. The community has been really nice to me and has welcomed me with near open arms when I had very basic questions to ask starting out the game trying to get over that initial learning curve. So don't be afraid to start up a game that's a few years old now. Bungie has promised at least 1 more year of content, and the most you have to lose is 80 gigabytes of space on your hard drive. The game's free. Thank you so much for watching my review. Like I said in the intro, I'm new to reviewing games, but I've wanted to do this for years, and it feels good to finally jump the gap and just make a video. Give me a follow on Twitter to know about new stuff I'm working on and to interact with me. And a huge shout out and thank you to my friend Blaze, who helped me form my opinions by aggressively arguing with me over every aspect of my script. I really appreciate you. Anyway, thank you again for watching, and I really hope to see you on my next video.